everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another falconry video. Today's video I'm going to be comparing and talking about Saker falcons and prairie falcons. These are two falcon species that on the outside at first seem as though they'd probably be closely related. They're not. They're actually very different in their lineages, and they both are used in falconry. And in the sport of falconry, they have kind of a very diverse history. The Saker falcon is a bird that has a history that goes back thousands of years. The prairie falcon has a history in falconry that only goes back about 100 years or less, really. And so we're going to talk about these two species, and we're going to go into depth on these. Now, the first one, the Saker falcon, we're going to go into, is the second largest falcon in the world. It is a bird that used to have a broader range. It's an old world species. It lives throughout the Middle East. It lives in parts of Africa, lives in parts of Europe, and it used to extend much further in historic times. But now its range has been reduced some. This species is actually, believe it or not, even though it's normally considered to be kind of a desert species, this species actually is so closely related to the gyr falcon that some people consider it to be co-specific, that a Saker falcon and a gyr falcon are subspecies of each other. They do interbreed with each other regularly where their ranges cross. Just kind of an interesting thing that gyr falcons have that habit. Gyr falcons are the biggest falcon species in the world, and a gyr falcon can be pure white, pure black, or any shade of gray or silver in between. But where the range crosses over with Saker falcons, they often have sort of those browns and grays that you expect from a Saker. But Saker falcons themselves, therefore, as a species, are the second largest falcon in the world. They have a rich history of being used in the Middle East in falconry, and are a contender for the argument of being the first species used in falconry. Depending on how we view history, we do know that they were used in very, very ancient times and still are today. Saker falcons can be used to hunt a wide range of prey, but they are most commonly known to be used to hunt a bird called a bustard, a habara. The bustard is a very large bird that can fly powerfully, but also can fight well on the ground. It provides a lot of food for one catch, and so it's something that's been sought over since ancient times by Bedouin and desert-dwelling peoples who will use this as a hunting method. Now, one of the nice things about a Saker falcon is they are able to pursue in a wide range of methods. They can hunt directly off the fist. They can go up to a pitch like a peregrine falcon and then dive down and hit their prey out of the sky. They can do a tail chase that'll last a long time. And in the case of their battles against the habara, the bustard, a bustard will put its wings out and kind of do this almost like a dance as a way to try to thwart the attack. And they're almost as big as a turkey. That's a big bird even for a Saker falcon to go after. And so a lot of times there'll be battles on the ground between a Saker falcon and a bustard, and something that most falcons just would turn down. And it's something that Saker falcons are totally willing to do. So that's part of the appeal of a Saker falcon in its native environment, is that it can handle the heat, it can handle the cold, it can battle on the ground, and it's diverse in its ways it can hunt. Those are all very good things if you're hunting in open desert countries with the Saker falcon. Now, Saker falcons have histories being used in other countries as well, and even in Europe during medieval times was very popular. And it can, again, I've hunted with them in a wide range of ways. What I've found is that they can be a bit cantankerous. They're smart birds, and so because of that, sometimes they want to self-hunt. Sometimes they don't quite know what's going on. If you dial in a peregrine falcon just goes up, dives down, catches its prey, knocks a pheasant out of the sky, you go pick them up. It's great. Saker falcons, because they have this diverse range of understanding of like, hey, I've got all these tricks in my bag that I can use. I can take these out and use it in different ways. Then that can be a problem or a solution, depending on how you view it. If you play to the strengths of your Saker falcon, then you're going to do great. If you're always saying, no, I'm only going to do one type of hunting with my Saker, you're going to run into problems because they're going to try to come up with solutions to new situations you bring up, and if you're pushing against that, you're going to have problems. I love Saker falcons. Most of the Saker falcons in the United States are not as big as a lot of the ones that are over in the Middle East. The breeding ones that we have are mostly from European stock, and they're not that big. Many Sacred falcons are every bit as big as a gyr-falcon, and they are a force to be reckoned with. Now, Sacred falcons are, again, a species that goes way back. And comparing them to a prairie falcon seems intuitive at first because they both are desert birds. Prairie falcons live in the New World. The range map of a prairie falcon, they're barely into Canada and all throughout the western United States and parts of Mexico. And they're very much a bird of open, arid country. It's amazing just how arid they like to live. Like any big falcon, same thing with sakers, prairie falcons do not build their own nest. They'll nest on a cliff ledge, or they'll take over an old nesting site from like a raven or a hawk, again, usually in a cliff face. It's amazing that prairie falcons live in such arid environments and that their nesting sites are often, you could just step in, you can just walk into them. Sometimes they're on huge towering cliffs like you would expect with a peregrine falcon. But sometimes it's just literally you could just step right in and poke your head in and look into a prairie falcon nest. It's pretty strange when you think about that because so many predators could just climb into that nest. But that's what they do, which is very similar to lanner falcons. And it's one of the reasons why originally, before genetic testing, a lot of people thought that prairie falcons were maybe closely related to lanner falcons and lagger falcons and some of the hero falcon complex over in the old world. And they look similar. They nest in similar habitats. They have somewhat similar markings. So it's an understandable comparison, but they're not. Genetics has shown something very, very different. It turns out prairie falcons are directly a branch off from peregrine falcons. And the mitochondrial DNA, the testing that has gone on, has said that branched off before the Ice Age. So it's a very early branch off from the early peregrine line, about, 1.5 million, 2 million years ago. But it hyper-focused on very arid environments. Peregrine falcons have adapted all over the world. If you're a generalist and you find your path, it's like, hey, I can adapt to any environment. I'll hunt whatever food is in that area. Then you can have very broad range. That's what peregrine falcons have done all over the world. Prairie falcons have a very specific way of living, and that is extremely hyper-arid deserts of North America. That's what they like, and they hunt some of the smallest birds. They have very large feet for their size. They have peregrine-sized feet. If you look at the feet of, say, lanner falcons, which fill a similar role, lanner falcons don't have the foot size. They don't have the grip force or the speed that you have with prairie falcons, again, because prairie falcons came directly from peregrine falcons. They are a hyper-arid extreme desert version of a peregrine falcon that's been doing it very well for over 1 million years. Now, that being said, let's be honest, peregrine falcons are one of the best falcon choices to use in falconry. They seem to get the concept of falconry. Peregrine falcons learn quickly, they're comparatively loyal, they're hard-hitting, they usually don't range out like other species, and so one would assume that the prairie falcon might be the same way. They are not. Even though they come directly from peregrines, they are very much their own thinkers, and they are much more independent, like you would expect from a gyr falcon or a saker falcon, even though they're not closely related to gyrs or sakers. Prairie falcons are powerful hunters. They're hard hitters, but they're self-hunters. And they've had to kind of do what the saker falcons have done, which is to adapt to a wide range of circumstances, because desert hunting, normally we think of falcons as being bird hunters, and prairie falcons are bird hunters. In my area, they love to hunt horned larks. It's one of their favorite things to go after. It's one of the things we find when we check on nests is we see a lot of horned lark feathers. But they will hunt rabbits. They will hunt ground squirrels. They will hunt lizards. They will even hunt snakes if they have to. It's unusual, but they will. They will go after whatever they have to. Peregrine falcons are much less likely to do that. But prairie falcons, they have filled this area, these hyper-arid conditions, right on the edge of high saline lakes that are, that dry out and become these salt flats. They'll nest right by there and hunt whatever they can. So prairie falcons are really some of the most extreme desert condition falcons in the world. And that's why they have this very small niche. So peregrine falcons, sacred falcons versus prairies. Both of them have been used in falconry. One has been used for thousands of years, one for like less than 100 years. Both of them are very much self-thinkers. I find it easier to train a sacred falcon than a prairie falcon. Prairie falcons, if you dial them in and get them really fine-tuned, get the weight right, get the training right, they'll hit as hard as a peregrine falcon. And they can be as capable of a hunter almost as a peregrine falcon. But it takes work and effort and fine-tuning to get you there. Sacred falcons have some of those same problems, but they're not as extreme. So given the choice, if you're talking ease of training, I pick a sacred falcon over a prairie falcon. But a prairie falcon, if I'm just going to train it to go up and do a dive and take out prey, instead of having that wide range of tricks up its sleeve like sacred falcons do, if you're going for more of a peregrine falcon style flight, a prairie falcon is a better choice to try to get that style of flight. Both of these birds are amazing. I've worked with them both. Neither of them are my first choice to fly as a falcon, but both of them I've flown extensively and have thoroughly enjoyed both species. I love the rich heritage of the sacred falcon's use in falconry. I love how much falconry equipment was developed by humanity to work with sacred falcons specifically. How many traps and how many lures and how many perches, how much tethering systems all came to be able to work with a sacred falcon. And prairie falcons, I think, are amazing because they're the only falcon species in the New World that is in North America that is specifically a North American falcon. It's just part of Canada, Western United States, and Western Mexico. That's it. And it's really neat that we have just this very specific falcon in this very specific area that's such a large falcon and it hasn't spread anywhere else in the world. It's really kind of cool. So I love both of these species. I welcome your questions and comments about both of these, some of your stories working with them. I know a lot of people love both of these species. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. And as always, happy hawking.